Welcome to VMblog's continuing coverage of VMware Explore 2022. Today, I have the pleasure of having Cody Hosterman, who's the Director of Product Management and Cloud at Pure Storage. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Excited for, I was going to say I was excited to be back at VMworld, but I guess I can never say that ever again. So I'm excited for VMware Explore. It's good to be back.
Nice. Maybe you can start by giving us a quick overview of the company.
Yeah, absolutely. So Pure Storage. Pure Storage, we started off as with a single product, right, called FlashArray, and we'll talk about that, I expect, in some detail here. But our goal was to really take the concept of Flash, make it cost efficient, cost effective, easy to use, simple, and really deliver that to replace disk. Our goal as a company was to get rid of all magnetic disk from a storage perspective and really move the data centers towards Flash. And that's really where we started off. But we built some, certainly added to our portfolio since then, and grown into other places around storage and really what that means. And as infrastructures have moved forward, so is Pure. But that's fundamentally where we start. We sell storage and we make it simple.
And as we're here at VMware Explore, maybe you could talk a little bit about how your company partners with VMware and in its ecosystem.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have our strategy when it comes to partnering with VMware, or really any technology partners, but specifically VMware here, is such. When we look at customer needs, I need product X to work with product Y. I need VMware and Pure to work together. We go through basically this process is, all right, how can we make our products out of the box work exactly the way we need it to, right? How do we make it when you turn it on, when you plug it in, when you enable the zone, whatever the case may be, how do we just make it work? Fundamentally, we see best practices as bugs, right? So how can we make that our problem in our product? How can we make it work and tune so customers don't have to think about that? And that's where we start. And if that's not enough, sometimes it isn't, sometimes it's part of it. Our strategy is to work directly with VMware engineering. How can we make their product work with our product, or their feature work with our feature immediately? And sometimes that requires working with VMware to change their product or alter it, or provide ways of making default configurations detect Pure or something like that. How can we work together to build a better together with our products? So design partnerships has always been a really key piece around that. The third part is, okay, maybe that's not enough. Maybe we can do more. Maybe there's ways we can add additional value. That's where we start looking at, do we need a plugin? Do we need a SDK? Do we need some module where we can help put these things together and also do some differentiating things? Because our core focus for our company has always been simplicity and making our features and our product simple to use where our customers are using and managing their infrastructure is really important. And often that comes into things like vSphere plugins and adapters for Site Recovery Manager. How do we make that simple? And of course, the last step is documentation. Let's write about it. What do we do? How do we make it simple? How do we use it? Right? It all filters down into that one way or another. The goal is that's one sentence of documentation, but our job is still existing, so there's still more things to do.
Now, you've talked about some of the stuff that you do with VMware. What specifically do you offer, someone who's a VMware shop and has a VMware implementation? What kind of problems do you solve for them?
Yeah, so this is a good question. So there's a couple pieces that we really focus on here. And our core goal, my core goal I've been running our VMware solutions and integrations now for a little over 8 years at Pure, is to not make the VMware administrator, the consumer of the VMware infrastructure, storage admins. I don't want them to be experts on storage. I want them to be able to consume it. I want them to know the one question that matters is, how much capacity do I need? Or maybe I need some SLA around like data protection schedules and things like that. But we don't want them to have to understand RAID or how many failures to tolerate. We want them just, I need storage, I need capacity, and I need it now, right? And maybe I need this feature or this replication, but they should not be storage experts. They should not be storage administrators. VMware administrators are getting more and more and more jobs. They're owning more and more different environments and products and infrastructure pieces. And so I don't want to make storage a concern for them. And so our overall goal is to make consuming and managing storage simple and in context there, so they can focus on more value-added parts of their infrastructure, right? So how can we make storage Pure's problem, not our customers, so the VMware administrators can focus on new and different things?
And if you could maybe double click on your technology portfolio a bit more, and more importantly for the the people who might be coming to your booth, talk about what makes your product unique or differentiated in the market.
Absolutely. So I'll first talk about our portfolio, our products, our portfolio, and talk a little bit about differentiation then. So we have a variety of products. So the original product that we offered, that we certainly still do, and it's an important part of our business these days, probably forever, is our flash array product. Flash array is our, well, believe it or not, all flash array that is block and file. So kind of a unified platform from that perspective. And it's conceptually based on data reduction, right? How do we make it efficient and cost effective? That was a really important part of introducing flash, right? Replacing disk in the data center is the concept of efficiency and making it really simple. It's built to understand flash. Our second product that we released is called FlashBlade. FlashBlade is, and we recently released a new hardware version of called FlashBlade S, is our unified file and object platform. So focusing on high performance S3 and object, and the same thing with file as well. But the driving use case around that has been object across the board. More recently, we've had some more additions to the Pure Storage family. One was about 2 years ago. Portworx, Kubernetes-focused storage platform, joined the Pure family. And their focus, of course, is not from the hardware level up, but from the container level down, right? How do we orchestrate container storage, backup and recovery, replication? How do we do that wherever your containers are, AWS, on-premises, Tanzu, whatever the case may be, and have that really end-to-end integration with container applications, which has always been a really critical part of traditional databases, traditional transactional databases running inside of VMs or bare metal, is not just the features, but how they interact to be properly quiesced and orchestrated in a Kubernetes world, right? So making sure those data protection strategies that are really important for persistent workloads are there in Kubernetes as well. And so Portworx has been a really important part of our overall container strategy, of course, too. And lastly, and more recently, we introduced a new storage as code platform, which we call Pure Fusion. Pure Fusion is across the board. It's not a fleet management technology, right? Because that's been done. That's something that's out there, right? And instead, we don't want customers thinking about anything in their fleet, right? We want them to be able to provision a volume with an SLA, right? Very traditional, very similar to the cloud operating model. We want to bring that to on-premises storage as well. I need a volume. I need this SLA. Maybe I have 5 arrays. Maybe I have 1,000. I don't care, right? I'm a consumer of storage. I want it now, and this is how I want it, right? Fusion is about rebalancing workloads, intelligent placement, figuring all that out, and taking that kind of that step we had around simplifying storage, where we ask you 2 questions when you provision a volume on FlashArray. How big should the volume be, and what do you want to call it? We've simplified flash storage in a flash array. Now we're simplifying the overall infrastructure around all of your arrays, all of your platforms behind the Pure Fusion module. And that's really been a driving force around simplifying, moving towards policy-based management across the board. And Fusion is that next step that we've made in our customer infrastructure. Now, when we look at differentiation, right, this is a really important part. Fundamentally, as I've mentioned this a couple times already, but I want to drive that point home, is really that focus on simplicity. How do we make it simple? How do we make it simple to use this? How do we make customers buy us because they want our engineers to figure out storage, right? They're not just buying a whole stack of, flash drives and then dealing with it. The customers don't want that. That's why they buy a storage platform. So making sure that our engineering team understands flash, how to best use it, right cycling, all that type of stuff, that's our problem. So simplifying that so customers don't care about the hardware mediums and their eccentricities is really an important part around that. So simplicity has always been there. And of course, from a VMware perspective, is making sure that's simple in the context of the VMware platform you're using, whether that's VMware Cloud Foundation or the vRealize platform or just core vSphere. But I think probably one of the most critical pieces of what we've done from a business and a technology perspective is the whole concept of what we refer to as evergreen. One of the things that, when we founded the company, one of the problems in storage was migrations, right? Hey, I bought a new storage platform every 3 years, every 4 years, whatever. I got to install it, configure it. I got to migrate everything over. And it was a nightmare. And that's what basically it was painting the Golden Gate Bridge, right? Just, all right, I finally finished this migration. Oh, it's time for the next lift and shift, right? We wanted to remove that from a technology perspective. And so what we've done, what we've built, and we started this with FlashArray, is as we create faster and better controllers, as we have new backend flash types, different methodologies around providing that NAND, and VMware fabrics on the back end, on the front end, we want that to grow with our customers' usage. We want their storage to never be migrated and just non-disruptively upgrade their hardware. So as they move, their array is always fundamentally the same array, but the technology completely changes with it. And so they don't have to deal with that. They can keep upgrading with it. It's kind of like that whole, that one Greek analogy, right? Where if you replace every board on a ship, after you replace every board, is it really the same ship? Is it a different ship? If I took all those boards and reassembled it, is that at the ship, right? That's really what we want our flash arrays to be for our customers, is that they never really move the sailors. It's the same ship, the storage, the data, but it's getting better and better over time for them. And that's what we call our evergreen model. And we move that importantly into the business model too, right? So as you renew your support, you just get the newer and faster controllers. And so it's not necessarily also about rebuying the new technology as part of the overall support model that we call evergreen. And fundamentally, the evergreen model, from a business and technology perspective, and that simplicity, that's really the core to our differentiation across the board. And certainly that dives into a lot of other places from there too.
And here at VMware Explorer, a lot of companies are making announcements. Do you guys have anything that you're going to be announcing at the show?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a variety of different pieces that surround this and what we're doing. And specifically when we're looking at the VMware environments, something that our company has really been focused on, and in particular for the past 4.5 years or so, is a technology referred to as vSphere virtual volumes. Right? There's a huge amount of benefit for our customers, for Pure, for storage admins, for VMware admins, for VMware, around the innovation that goes into virtual volumes. But one of the lingering gaps in the technology was a really kind of big one. It was active-active replication, stretch storage, synchronous replication. To get mission critical apps onto a storage platform, you need that. In particular, if you look at the European market, it's a really important part of infrastructures, in particular there, but of course, globally, it's used for mission critical applications. And so, all right, all these benefits around data management, data protection when it comes to virtual volumes, but if I can't use it with my most important apps, how useful is it across the board for me? It's very tactical at that point. And so to make it strategic and really useful across the board of these infrastructures, we needed to support that. And going back and looking at our partnering model with VMware, is that could we have kind of hacked something together and built it on our side? Like, yeah, we could have, right? And we actually filed patents on the ideas around how that could potentially be done. But in the end, this is such an important project. We wanted to partner with VMware. So we've been working with them for years now on the specification, how it looks, how it should work, making sure that our storage platform is, not hampered by the design. We don't want to design to the least common denominator. How can we really make our simplicity shine? How can we make sure it works with VMware? Virtual metro storage clustering, stretch compute clusters. How does this work? How do we make it non-disruptive? How do we make it flexible? And we're getting really close to release. We have a session this year at VMware Explore with VMware talking about what we've done and some more insights around that technology and how we built it. And so I'm really excited to truly announce, this isn't just, yes, this is coming. This is a real active project where there's real code, real engineers and architects going together to focus on this. And we now this year have something to directly show that will be coming out fairly soon. So I'm really excited about that next step in the VVol platform.
And, at the show, VMware is going to be talking about big picture items on the keynote stage. What big themes or trends heading into 2023 is your company most interested in?
Yeah, so I would say there's a couple pieces here that are of particular interest for us because they're particularly interesting and important for our customers. And so I would put them in a couple places. One is containers and Kubernetes, right? What does this mean, right? What does it mean for our customers that are moving that route or adopting that paradigm for their applications? How can we help them? How can we simplify it? Because I think one key point around that is that VMs aren't going away, right? Mainframes never went away. Bare metal never went away. And so these VMware administrators are now being asked to support VMs and containers and potentially bare metal. And there's probably some out there with mainframes too. How do we really simplify this across the board? And I think, a big focus this year at VMware Explore is around that whole concept. Kubernetes containers running on top of VMware, whether it's Tanzu, whether it's OpenShift, my VMs that are going along with it, and even managing bare metal. We look at Project Monterey, right? VMware is investing in that part of the business too. And so they're being asked to do more, and the application granularity really matters. And so this is where like our focus around virtual volumes and of course Portworx across the board is really important, because it focuses on what matters, the application, maybe not necessarily the VM, which is really a big changing piece. So another overall focus area for us is, unfortunately, ransomware. It's a problem. Like, I think we all agree to that. And I think when you look at ransomware, it's not one solution is going to solve all your problems, right? You have to really look at your full infrastructure, every piece of your environment, and how does this matter? And of course, from the storage perspective, and in this case, also the storage VMware perspective, our focus is how can we simplify that and make it more useful? Because when it comes to ransomware protection, I'd say there's kind of three pieces, right? One is, how do I make sure that protection is engaged, right? And that protection can't be like turned off. Two, how do I ensure that it is still engaged, and as I deploy new applications, it's still there and still being protected and still offering that? And lastly, how can I restore? But the most important part of that, how can I restore, I would say, is how quickly I can restore as well. Because we've seen plenty of situations where they're like, okay, I do have a backup and recovery plan. Fantastic. It's going to take me 3.5 weeks to restore this 40 terabyte database from my backup. It's cheaper for my business to just pay the ransom, right? And so at least providing that ability to quickly restore is a really critical piece of this. And this is where something like for the protections that we built in to FlashArray, in particular for VMware environments, we can really reset very large data sets essentially instantly. Because one of the features we built into it is called safe mode, which is where you can't delete volumes, you can't change SLAs around snapshot protections without literally opening a direct case with approvals to pure storage support and engineering. The customer does not have administrative access to override those technologies, right? And so what we can do with those snapshots is, yeah, they can delete the primary volumes, they can change it, but they can't get rid of those backups. And we can restore volumes no matter the size on FlashArray instantly. It's all just metadata pointers. And that's a really important part of our overall strategy when it comes to VMware environments. And so with those things in mind, I think it's, I can talk all day about all this stuff that we're doing, but I think it's helpful to show it. And so I brought along with me senior solutions architect on my VMware solutions team, Alex Carver, to demonstrate some of the safe mode features that we have, talk a little bit about that, and show the context and what we're doing from a VMware integration perspective to be able to leverage that and help our customers see these restore points and be able to actually leverage them directly.
So Alex, if you could just introduce yourself and let us know what we're about to see in this demo.
Yeah, absolutely. My name's Alex Carver. As Cody was mentioning, he's senior solutions engineer on his team. What I want to go ahead and do is just demo and walk through some of those safe mode features that Cody was talking about, and then how we're actually able to leverage some of those restore features at a quick pace with our vSphere remote plugin. All right. So here I'm just logged into a FlashArray, and one of the things here at the bottom you'll notice is that there's this safe mode section in the bottom, whether it's telling you, is this array enabled with safe mode or is it not? And then what safe mode does is it disables the ability to manually eradicate volumes so that a user can't destroy something and then come in here and eradicate it. It says manual eradication is disabled. Additionally, you're able to enable safe mode on a concept of protection group. So it's that consistency group where you have local snapshots or replication enabled to it. And when that happens, and with safe mode enabled, you can't destroy those protection groups. You can't remove objects from them. So I can't actually come in here and remove any of the objects that are in this protection group. And so that there's not going to be a chance where all of my backups or all of my snapshots for a given object are all of a sudden removed from there. And then additionally, you can go ahead and enable individual protection groups to have that safe mode ratcheted on so that they don't have the ability to remove them from the remove objects from that protection group as well. Then adding on to that, our vSphere remote plugin allows users to be able to take advantage of that ability that those volumes aren't going to be automatically or all of a sudden manually eradicated and you can't recover from them, to be able to have, additional ways to go ahead and restore them. Whether that's something like doing a VM point in time recovery, where you're able to recover that VM from a specific snapshot or that point in time. So this VM, I can go back and like, okay, so this snapshot was taken around this time frame. Or having the ability to undelete a VM so that there's a workflow in here where you can go ahead and undelete a virtual machine, such that, okay, so I have this virtual machine that was destroyed at some point. I want to go ahead and recover it from one of those snapshots. And so that you have the ability to recover something that might have been deleted, but because that stuff wasn't eradicated from the array itself, the plugin can go ahead and recover that. Then additionally, we do have some insights given to, that kind of application granular level of specific virtual machines that are running on vVols, where I can go ahead and see the individual metrics or the individual information from each of those VMs themselves, so that you can go ahead and see, all right, so this virtual disk on this VM, it's configured this way, it's this object here, and then even go ahead and monitoring whether it's what its capacity has been, and then its performance. So even historical context, you can go ahead and see, well, over the last 30 days, this VM has grown by this much capacity, or it's decreased by this much capacity, and being able to plan a little bit better for that. And additionally, being able to see performance too. So, and because of that application granular kind of insight that we can actually build into a lot of these things with vVols and what it allows us to do. And then we can also take advantage of different aspects within vVols themselves, like replication, protection, and then being able to issue specific things on those replication groups, like test failovers, sync replication group workflows, or even failovers built directly in the plugin. So it's VASA enabled failovers being able to be in there, so you can recover those objects from a different array or to a different vCenter with a different array and so forth. And then additionally, within the vSphere plugin, we also have an integration with Pure One, so that you can also see, all right, these are my fleet of arrays, which array has the least amount of load, which one has the most amount of load, where should I go ahead and, migrate different workloads to the other array, or, hey, I'm going to be deploying something new. Hey, what's the array with the most amount of space and the least amount of workload? So you can be able to, utilize your kind of fleet in a more efficient way. Those are kind of some of the really quick highlights, though, with our vSphere remote plugin, and then also being able to leverage some of the safe mode features on the array in the event that, something's compromised and you're being held for ransom.
Thanks for that great demo, Alex. And Cody, maybe you can tell us, where can people go if they want to find out more information about Pure Storage and some of the things you talked about today?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's purestorage.com. It's always a good place to check. If you want my team's documentation, demos, videos, all that type of stuff as well, on our support site, which is support.purestorage.com, we have a VMware solutions guide, and it's generally almost entirely open to the public. So you don't need to be a customer to be able to see the documentation. We want to make sure this is open and available from that solutions site for VMware. We have a link to our YouTube channel, to our personal blogs, where we put some cool kind of tinkering type of stuff on there as well. But there's a ton of content, everything that we do from a VMware perspective, our integrations, and overall our solutions. So that's a great place to start. We also have a public-facing Slack team. If you go to code.purestorage.com, there's a self-registration link there to a public Slack team where you can ping Alex all day with your questions around the vSphere plugin or virtual volumes or whatnot. Of course, we have some good conversations around code as well in there too, but it's a good place to chat with other consumers, prospects, customers, partners, just around what you're doing and pinging some questions to the Pure team.
Great. Well, thanks for taking the time to speak with VMblog.
Thank you both. I appreciate it.